This is Smiles TV. Welcome to Smiles TV. You're watching a global television broadcast now. We're now with the P. Chapman Network. And P. Chapman Network is a new network which was started by Pam Chapman. She's the first African-American news director for the state of Mississippi. And she started the network, which is now on several platforms. We're also on Dynasty Television. You don't want to miss Smiles anytime. You can catch us on Google, on Amazon, and many national platforms as well as locally. Today we have a very interesting, unique, exciting broadcast. I'm honored first to talk with Dr. Andrew Theising, and he is a professor at Southern Illinois University in Edwardsville, and he has several publications. We're going to be talking about his new publication, which is called Mainstreet USA, The Life and Photography of Henry H. Bregstone. During the second half of our broadcast, we have What's on Your Mind with Dr. Desiree Holmes. Remember, Jesus Christ was born of a virgin. He was crucified and buried, and he rose on the third day. Confess with your mouth that Jesus is Lord. Believe in your heart that God has raised him from the dead, and thou shalt be saved. Stay tuned for more Smiles. Welcome back, and thank you for staying with us. I'm sitting here with Dr. Andrew Theising. Dr. Theising has several publications, and he's done a lot on East St. Louis, Illinois. He has a unique way of telling stories through photographs. Dr. Theising, thank you for coming to Smiles Television.
It is a pleasure to be here. Thank you for the invitation.
And you know, he told me that we are the first broadcast to talk about his new book. And your new book
is Mainstreet USA, and it is the story about a Jewish photographer named Henry Bregstone. And he has this fascinating life, and he's left this incredible legacy of photographs from about 100 years ago.
About 100 years ago. So those are very precious photographs, and we have an opportunity to share some of those photographs on this broadcast. While we were talking when the cameras were not rolling, I asked you, how did and why did you get into telling stories through photographs?
I do a lot of reading, and you know, there are so many wonderful books written about places, but to me it's seeing the photographs that really help those of us who study cities, help us really understand what life was like. Because someone who's writing just words, they may not describe how the streetscape makes me feel, or they may not describe that even though this event's going on here, look what's happening right next to it. And photographs reveal these things. And so I love to look in the faces of people in photographs, and I love to look in the background of photographs. And not just see the subject, the intended subject, but to look at the setting. Because it's that larger setting that really gives us the feeling, and we can have a better sense of the motivations that people felt by looking at the whole context. And photographs do that better than words.
So quite a few of your publications deal with the city of East St. Louis, Illinois. Right. What's the intrigue there? You
know, I initially did not want to study East St. Louis, but I was, my advisor listened to my other suggestions for research in graduate school, and he said, I think you need to go to East St. Louis. There's a story to be told there. And so I did. In fact, it was 25 years ago next month that I first came to East St. Louis, and I have never left. I fell in love with the city. I am fascinated by the city. I love the people of East St. Louis. It has just been a life-changing experience for me, and what a rich life it has allowed me to live, to get to know these people and to see all the good work that goes on.
And you told me you're from the from the metropolitan area,
right?
And so how did your growing up in Florissant?
I grew up in Florissant, yes.
Florissant, Missouri. So growing up as a child in Florissant, what were some of your views or thoughts of East St. Louis prior to your being able to do stories on the city itself?
I never had occasion to go to East St. Louis, and honestly, it wasn't on my radar growing up. But my aunt, who recently passed away, she was in her 90s. She had never been to East St. Louis because she was afraid of East St. Louis, going all the way back to the 1930s and 40s, and
Right.
that East St. Louis was a big, scary place. And she said, even knowing that I was there studying it, she said, I have never been there. Yet she lived her entire life in St. Louis.
Okay. Well, let's move forward to your publication now. You deal with the immigration experience, or it highlights, I guess, the immigration experience, and we know today that is a major topic, and,
Right.
and we see the divisions that occur as a result of immigration. Was that in effect then, and if so, how?
Yes, those tensions were in effect back then, and Henry Bregstone, the subject of my book, he immigrated from Lithuania.
Okay.
And he first arrives in the Wisconsin, Michigan part of the country, and he was Jewish, and so he came over, and a lot of Jewish immigrants worked in these as retailers in these. The mining camps, the industrial camps, and probably the most famous Jewish immigrant in the 19th century was this man, Levi Strauss, who basically invented using denim for clothing. And so blue jeans come from this Jewish immigrant who was in this retail trade serving the miners and the workers. Well, Henry Bregstone actually came to the United States and started doing that. He was actually in the shoe business and leather goods.
Okay.
And so he would work with the miners, and he did that as a way to start establishing himself and raising money. But his love was not in retail, it was in photography, which when he came here in the 1880s, that was something rather new. And by the 1890s, we had cameras, portable cameras that people could carry and take with them, and he found his passion. And this is this tension that's in his life is between the creative, his artistic creative energy and what he needed to do to help establish his family. So if you think about immigrants coming over, the Jewish community was not necessarily united. The family was based in Chicago, but Chicago had really two Jewish populations. It had the German Jewish population, which was on the south side of Chicago, and then there was the Eastern European Jewish community, which was on the west end of Chicago. And those communities, even though they shared Judaism, it was very different. The German Jews were Reformed Jews. They had fewer rules. They were very cultured. They had lots of institutions, and they did not necessarily invite the participation of the Eastern European Jews. The Eastern European Jews tended to be Orthodox. They tended to have more rules and rituals, and so they approached Judaism differently. And so even though we could say, look at the Jewish community of Chicago, there really were these divisions. We've seen divisions around immigration then, we see them now,
Right,
we see them in the Hispanic community and in the Catholic community. The divisions around immigration have always been.
Switching gears slightly, you also told me while we were talking that what was really unique about the photographs is that he actually, did you say he signed them?
He didn't sign them, but he put his name, he burned into the photograph his name on all of his photos, and he probably produced upwards of 1 million in his lifetime over a 30-year career.
Okay.
And he produced each one of these by hand. And so this was just a really incredible time-intensive process, and to get his name on there took even more time. And so it's just so clear to me that he was an artist at heart. He had been a soldier and he was an attorney, but he didn't pursue those for his livelihood. He gave all that up to pursue his art. He loved his photography.
Let's do this. I want our viewing audience to see some of these photographs. And so we're going to take about a minute or so and just take a look at these unique photographs.
The photographs that your viewers are seeing are some of the ones he took of St. Louis and East St. Louis. And he would go and he would photograph events. In East St. Louis, he actually started his postcard career by photographing houses for sale. And real estate agents could hand out the postcards. He photographed prominent landmarks and schools and street scenes. And he did that not just in the greater St. Louis area, but from St. Louis to Toledo, basically. He avoided the big major cities, but he went into small towns everywhere. And these photos are a real treasure for those of us who study cities today, because it shows us exactly how these cities developed over time.
Absolutely amazing. Absolutely amazing. I've got a couple more questions. I'm being told we're going to have to wrap it up. He was on the cutting edge of technology, as you briefly touched on.
Back in the day, he really was. I mean, these real photo postcards, they're called. These postcards, I mean, this was the Instagram of its day. People thought, oh my gosh, look at this novel creation, and people were buying these up 100 years ago. And yes, this was cutting-edge technology that he was using.
Wow. And some of your other publications include?
More recently, East St. Louis in the Images of America series is a project that I did with Bill Nunes, and it has a Henry Bregstone photo on the cover. And my most recent publication was St. Louis Currents. It's a collection of essays that I edited with Terry Jones at UMSL. And that is available through Reedy Press, just like Mainstreet USA is too.
Very good. Excellent, excellent. I want to say read, but the photographs are just outstanding. And we want to thank you. Is there anything else that you want to make sure that the audience is abreast of that we have not touched on?
I want to mention that the book is going to be featured at the St. Louis Jewish Book Festival on November 15th. And it will be featured at the Missouri History Museum on December 16th. So I hope that your viewers can come out for one of those programs.
Please do support Dr. Andrew Theising. Excellent work. And we are so grateful that you took time to join us. And you can tell, I think he has some television production skills that he hasn't shared, because he's helping us along. And will you come back to Smiles TV if you get the opportunity?
I would love to.
Okay, well, thank you. Don't go away. We're going to come back with What's on Your Mind with Dr. Des. What's on your mind? Yes, we have. What's on your mind with Dr. Des? And this time, she's sitting here with me again. We're going back in history, because she's gone so far in her broadcast that she has her own guests on a regular basis. But today, we just wanted to have a one-on-one with Dr. Des. What's on your mind, Dr. Des?
I love it. Well, what's on my mind is how good it feels to be doing the show. The response is just amazing. We've had wonderful guests on the show. People are really feeling like they're getting information that they never heard about. The comments are, that was so good, I didn't know that, or boy, I thought I knew that, but you gave a whole different perspective on it, or you gave some additional information on it. Just the comments at the guests. People really loved when we had Dr. and Dr. Loynd on the show.
That is so right, and I can attest to that. Personally, I had a phone call, and the person told me, that's my doctor, and that they were able to do some things for them that no other doctor could do.
People love the fact that, because again, Dr. Kelechi Loynd, she's child and adolescent, and she does see some young adults, and then Dr. Chris Loynd, he's an adult psychiatrist, and they work in the community. And that's what's on your mind with Dr. Des, it's all about. It's working around the community, the whole community. And so bringing people in that work within this community, that provide services within this community, that live within the community. And hopefully we can broaden that and get some folks that are experts that are outside of the community as well, too. I'm not just going to just limit it to just people that are here. But the thing is that we absolutely do have experts here.
Yes, ma'am. And good mental health is just as important as good heart, good lungs, and we tend to overlook that fact. And I think one of the key things that you do is to help dispel the myths about mental health, those issues.
That has been the number one reason for why, in my mind, What's on Your Mind with Dr. Des was birthed. Because I come in contact all the time with people who refuse to seek proper mental health care, because the first thing, I'm not crazy. It's not about that. And I tell people all the time, first of all, that's a layman's term. We don't use that term. That is not a clinical term. You will not find that term anywhere clinically within the tools that we use. That's what society has labeled it as crazy. What we say is you have a mental illness, you have a mental disorder. But my goal is that you have mental health. And that's no different than being in good physical health. And I share all the time, you know, if you break your leg and your bone is hanging out, you don't sit there and say, oh, I'm not going to the doctor.
Right.
You go to the doctor, you go to the emergency room. You know, if you're not feeling well within inside of yourself because your body is at dis-ease, what do? You go see a doctor. If your mental health is at dis-ease, what do?
I'm so glad you're breaking that word down like that. Dis-ease. Not at ease.
Not at ease.
Right.
You're not at ease.
Right.
So your mental state, your emotional state is not at ease. And that is the key thing. And that is really where my heart is. You want to know my heart? That's my heart.
I do have a question regarding mental health issues. Is it possible, let's say someone is going through abuse for a long period of time, can that abuse actually change the chemical makeup of an individual's brain?
There is some wonderful, interesting that you bring that up, because there is some amazing research that's going on out there through neuropsychology, neuroscientists within the field of psychology and psychiatry, and it shows that people who have endured great lengths, a period of time of trauma, how it absolutely does change the neurochemistry of the brain. So it changes the neuronal development of the brain, and it's fascinating research. And in fact, what I would like to do is bring on a guest, a neuropsychologist, to come on and talk about some of those things, because it does change. And not only that, not only does that change, but just in terms of other developmental things that's going on within your body, how it just changed your neurochemical development in general. And so trauma is a very, very real thing. And abuse. And so when you have that combination of abuse, you have that combination of neglect, you have that combination of just all of those negative thoughts, negative feelings, it feeds all into that. And over time and in time, it impacts the body, it impacts your internal organs, it slowly erodes away, and it leaves your body feeling very vulnerable. It leaves the body vulnerable for all types of diseases and illnesses, hypertension.
Wow.
Diabetes, various cancers. Your body then becomes vulnerable, because what's really happening is that you're having a slow process of the breakdown of what's going on with your internal functioning with your body. And so it has a major effect.
So, Dr. Des, you've had several guests so far. What's in the future for What's on Your Mind with Dr. Des?
The future for What's on Your Mind with Dr. Des. First of all, let me just do another shameless plug here. Mrs. and I call her Mrs. Miles. Stephanie Anthony Miles has taken Smiles TV to a whole nother level, to where we've gone national. And so with that, on this new network that you are now
right, the
a
P.
part
Chapman
of.
Network,
right,
and Dynasty,
right. And so prayerfully, I get to go along with that ride. So what's in store for Dr. Des? The sky's the limit, because the sky's the limit for you. But in terms of some of the types of shows that we want to bring on, like I said, I want to do more programming where we get to actually bring guests on the show who have a diagnosis and who are living with it.
Okay.
Because one of the things that I want to show people is that you absolutely can have a productive life. You can have a diagnosis, you can be receiving your treatment, you can be maintaining your health, following along whatever your regimen is through your prescriber, your psychiatrist, your nurse practitioner, whether you're doing your therapies, talk therapies, whatever your regimen is, it absolutely, you can have a very healthy and well productive life. You can work, you can have a family, you can be married, you can raise children, you can go to school, you can have a productive life.
And it goes back to what we were saying earlier. Some mental health issues are just like any other health issues that need to be diagnosed and treated. And we live with high blood pressure every day.
Exactly.
We live with diabetes and a
That's
host
right.
of other things.
That's right.
And so mental health is just another one of those illnesses that can be treated, and you can be a functionable adult citizen.
But like those diseases, oftentimes what happens is we don't get treatment. And again, African Americans and the African American community, oftentimes, for various reasons, sometimes because we don't have insurance, lack of resources, lack of the ability to get to your doctor's appointment. I understand that there's lots of barriers there. But this is what we have to keep in mind. Oftentimes when those lists come out, we're number one. We're always number one at the top of those lists for the highest rate of diabetes, for the highest rate of hypertension. And mental illness falls into that same category for the simple fact that, again, we've talked a lot about this on the show, to where people, again, won't get help. And now you're in a crisis. So we typically oftentimes get the help that we need when we're in crisis. People are having psychotic episodes. They're having issues with their hearing voices. So they're having these auditory hallucinations. They're having visual hallucinations. Maybe they are, while they're in that psychotic episode, they have become aggressive or combative or maybe even dangerous to oneself and to others within the home, within the community. And now you have to get the police involved. Now you have to have EMTs involved, because now you have to get them transported, because now they're in a crisis. And so I want to just implore people is, don't wait until
Until that-
someone is
right.
in a crisis.
Right, and it's important too
It's-
that
yeah.
family members.
Family members.
You know, we know our family members, and we can tell when something is off.
Absolutely.
We should take it upon ourselves to encourage that help.
Absolutely, absolutely. And again, not be afraid. You know, sometimes people will say to me, well, I didn't want them to be mad at me. I didn't want them to get upset with me. Or, you know, I didn't want, you know, my relationship or lose my friendship or whatever the case
That
is.
person needs help.
That person needs help.
Right, to find out. Well, the person who's ill needs help, and the one
Right.
who's saying they didn't want to get involved
Right.
because they didn't want someone to talk about them or
Right.
not to like them, they need help as
Right,
well.
right.
I'm going to have to cut it short, Dr. Des.
Yeah.
I want to thank you so much for being our resident psychologist on Smiles TV.
Thank you.
And we are going places, and we are national now, and we do need some assistance. We need sponsors. So as we go forward, God is opening many doors. As we go forward, we ask you, if you're interested in sponsoring the broadcast on Smiles TV, contact us, Smiles TV, Stephanie Miles, at smilestv777@gmail.com, or call 618-741-3770. We had a wonderful show today. I want to thank Dr. Theising. We want to ask you to please support Dr. Andrew Theising's work. He has his new book, Mainstreet USA, The Life and Photography of Henry H. Bregstone. Please, the photography within the book is superb and is historical. Tune into Smiles Television Talk Show as often as you can. Catch us on YouTube and Facebook and support Smiles by being a sponsor. Remember, only what you do for Christ will last. Keep smiling. You look better when you smile, and Jesus is the Lord. The Lord be magnified.
The Smiles Television Talk Show wants to showcase your business, organization, church, and activities. If you have an interest in being a guest on Smiles Television Talk Show, or if you have any show ideas, contact Stephanie Anthony Miles at smilestv777@gmail.com. You may also call 618-741-3770. Tell your friends to subscribe to the Smiles YouTube channel. Let Smiles TV increase your reach. Remember, you look better with smiles. IDEX Media does a lot. From IDEX Photography to IDEX Films. We help create forever memories and forever impressions. Image a nation, image a world. IDEX Media.
Awesome sauce. Yeah, baby.